Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. This is episode 44. It is the first Gongshow podcast of 2023. My name is Josh. As always, here with Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Not much. Survived New Year's Eve, I guess.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that in a minute, a little bit later. Wasn't real hard to survive it.
Nope.
Pretty tame New Year's Eve this year. This should be a fun episode, Troy. It's our 2023, I guess, predictions show. We're going to break out our crystal ball and be prepared to look like idiots in about a year from now when I'm sure all of our predictions are wrong. Just a reminder to everyone, as we do, we are going to make a number of predictions, guesses. It's all intended for fun, educated guesses, stuff we think about. Just remember to do your own research, make your own decisions. Don't go broke based off of what we say. All right, before we get started, just want to remind everyone the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast where we rely on support from you, the listener, to help cover expenses, continue to produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and help us fund initiatives to grow the hobby in our own small way. Right now, you can take advantage of the out of 99 tier. Someone called this the Gretzky tier on Discord the other day. Did you notice that?
I saw that.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the original thought behind it. That's why we did 99.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like sports cards out of 99, but I thought that was kind of a cool connection that somebody made there. So anyways, you can join our out of 99 tier, be one of the first 99 supporters of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, and forever hold that title. You'll also get exclusive access to our Discord server, chat with us on the regular, participate as an insider with the show, and just join the great community of people that are already there. It's real easy to support us via Patreon. You can go to the Patreon website. It's Patreon and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. Or you can visit the link in the description of the podcast app you're listening to us on right now. And if you need a third way, Troy, we have a link in our Instagram profile. I think on our TikTok profile now, too. There's a link tree that has a link to support us via Patreon there, too. Big few days for us on Patreon. We got 3 new supporters to thank. Austin, Terrence, and Jeff, thank you all very, very much for supporting us, and can't wait to chat with you guys on Discord. All right, Troy, you ready to get in the game plan?
I'm ready. Let's do it. All right. On today's show, we begin with the greatest player to wear number 44. Then it's off to movers and shakers. Next, we take a look at some 2023 breakout candidates, our 2023 hobby wish list, and our 2023 listener/follower predictions segment. We finish the show with hobby news and new product releases. All right, looking at number 44. So finally, we break the streak of, I guess Zetterberg wasn't, he was a good player, but we've had some lesser known players in the 40s. So now we're getting back into a famous one here. So per the Hockey Writers article, the most famous player to wear number 44 is Chris Pronger. I'm assuming everyone should know who Chris Pronger is.
Heard of him.
He was a defenseman, played 1,167 regular season games over an 18-year NHL career. Started his career with 2 seasons in Hartford, which I casually just kind of forgot about, that he played for Hartford and started his career with them. Then he played 9 seasons with the St. Louis Blues, followed by stints in Edmonton, Anaheim, and Philadelphia.
Doesn't it feel like the Hartford Whalers need to come back?
I know. Well, at least the only semblance of them now, I think, is in the women's league. There's a Connecticut Whalers team on the. Oh,
really?
Yeah, and they have a big whale as their symbol, so it's kind of a throwback to the Hartford Whalers. But yeah, because Hartford's Carolina, right? If I remember right, that's where they went.
I compared my wife to a whale once when she was pregnant. That was not a good idea.
Oh, that's not smart. Not smart. No. All right, so his awards and accomplishment for Chris Pronger. He is a Hall of Famer. He was named one of the top 100 players in NHL history. He is a one-time Stanley Cup winner, won the Cup with Anaheim in 2006-2007 season. He was on the 1993-94 All-Rookie team. He won the Hart Trophy in the 1999-2000 season. He won the Norris Trophy in the 1999-2000 season. And I kind of forgot to put this in there, but I remember it off the top of my head. When he won the Hart Trophy in 1999, he was the first defenseman to be the league MVP since Bobby Orr in 1971 and 72. And
wow,
Pronger is the last defenseman to win the Hart Trophy in that season. So
he's he was the new Cale Makar before Cale Makar was the new Cale Makar.
Yep, you got it. You have brought it back to relevancy in today's game. I love
There
it.
we go. That's my job, Troy. Well, honestly, what kind of shocks me about that is 1999, I would have been a sophomore in college at the University of Minnesota. Skyuma, go Gophers, roll the boat. And I was at that time of life where I really wasn't paying attention to much other than probably girls. But I didn't know that he won the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, it's a very little tidbit. It was interesting to read. One time in his career, he was a first-team All-Star. 3 times in his career, he was a second-team All-Star. And now Josh's favorite stat in the world, he is a member of the Triple Gold Club.
Oh, God.
He won a Stanley Cup with Anaheim, an Olympic gold medal with Canada in 2002 and 2010, and he won gold with Canada at the World Juniors in 93 and I think the World Championships in 97. I don't know if both of those need to be included or just one of them. If you do something at the Worlds, I can't remember. But obviously won a World Championship, so it's triple gold. Josh will write his hate mail to the whoever deemed that the Triple Gold Club. I
think I'd like to officially volunteer to join the renaming committee for the Triple Gold Club because it's inaccurate.
It's the Stanley Cup just throws it off.
Not factual.
All right, his number 44 is retired by the Blues. It was retired by the Blues in January of this year. All right, so now let's look at stats.
Whoa.
What?
You made the first 2023 mistake. You
said last year. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
January of last year. Great job, Pronger. You got your number retired. All right, 157 goals in his career, 541 assists for a total of 698 points. Made the playoffs in 15 of his 18 NHL seasons, 173 games played, 26 goals, 95 assists in the playoffs for 121 points.
So he's like the anti-Marty Biron, right?
The anti-2 seasons out of 15 or whatever, which was kind of brutal. All right, so let's think about Pronger. Absolutely one of the, if not the best shutdown defenseman of his era. Physical specimen, 6'6", 220 pounds. Used every single bit of his physical attributes to be one of the most physically dominant players ever. A lot of what you read about Pronger is how he struck fear in his opponents with his physical style. And opposing players always had to keep their head up because if you didn't, he was probably going to hit you. And we'll get into the little bit more about the physicality of him.
What's interesting about that, though, is it's kind of not what you see as far as the modern scouting report, right? Where you expect to see pushes the puck, plays 200 feet, right? That sort of stuff, and not physical shutdown. Kind of player.
For sure. And with Pronger, so obviously there's that physicality component. If you read the NHL top 100 profile they put on him, I kind of like this. It says Pronger could quarterback a power play. He could make a first pass out of the zone as effective or as efficiently as any defenseman who ever played. He was a powerful skater who could easily join the rush and seemingly had enough stamina to play all night long. During his career, he had .60 points per game, which actually puts him 48th all-time for defensemen. But what I wanted to kind of say about this, if you look at all the other great defensemen, obviously he lags behind in like the points and the points per game area behind most of them. But I wanted to read this quote. And this is what he said in his, I think this was from the Athletic article, if I remember right, that they came out with. He said, I probably could have gotten more points, but what would I have sacrificed? I was trying to win. My job was to shut down the other team's top line. Could I have played on the power play more? Probably. But in discussions with the coaching staff, I'd be like, well, we want to be ready to go against the top line after our power play is over. We need you fresh. So it's kind of interesting to see him talk about how his real job was going out there to shut people down, not to go out and score a bunch of points. And so we talked about the physicality a little bit. He was suspended 8 times during his career, missing a total of 22 games due to these suspensions. Pronger has been labeled as a dirty player by media members and some players. For his part, Pronger has went on the record and said he doesn't care one bit about the label. He was there for his team and protect his teammates. Josh, did you consider Pronger a dirty player?
I don't think so, no.
I don't think I did either. I do remember the one incident where he stepped on, I can't remember who it was, leg. It didn't injure the guy, but I think he got a pretty big suspension for it just because of the intent.
Sure.
I do remember him just hitting people, though. I remember him being this big dude, and if you kept your head down or you weren't looking up, he got a run on you. I mean, it was lights out. So it was interesting. If you just if you have a subscription to The Athletic, they're doing a series right now on the top. I think it's 90 top 99 modern players in the NHL ever. And his just came out. He was like 30 something, 33 to 35, somewhere in there, if I remember right. So it's very interesting listening to him. And he goes in a lot more detail how he does not care if people think he was dirty. So it's really interesting to see his perspective.
What do they mean by modern players? Like what years?
Oh, it's a good question. I think there's, I want to say it's, I don't know. I'm gonna get it wrong, but I'm gonna say from like the 80s on, if I remember right, because they said we all know who number one is, so they're not even worrying about Gretzky. They're just doing the rest. And it's been an ongoing series that's been going on right now, and obviously they ran through I think 99 to 30 something.
Okay.
All right. Fun fact time. Pronger was selected second overall by the Hartford Whalers in the 1993 NHL entry draft behind Alexander Daigle, who made the infamous statement, "I'm glad I got drafted first because no one remembers number 2.
Ooh.
Interesting, Mr. Daigle. I think people remember Pronger a little more than you. Even though Daigle, he had his moments.
He was a real big deal, though.
Yeah, Daigle I remember him having some hype coming out. All right, on June 5th, 2006, in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals against the Carolina Hurricanes, Pronger became the first player in NHL history to score a penalty shot goal in a Stanley Cup final game.
That's cool. Good fun fact.
That's one of those you read again in Wikipedia, and you got to go back because it just didn't make sense to me. Like there's been goals, like penalty shot goals scored in the Stanley Cup playoffs, but never in the finals before his first one that he got.
Your fun fact game to start the year is strong.
Very strong. All right, here's the last one then, because I just love the video game covers. Pronger appeared on the cover of NHL 2000 and NHL Hits 2003.
I don't remember NHL Hits. Do you?
Yeah, it was kind of like Blitz, NFL Blitz, arcadey. Like you could slam people, throw them against the wall. It was just chaos. It was fun.
Nice.
All right, his rookie card is a 1992-93 Upper Deck number 591. It's one of the World Junior cards that we've kind of talked about with some of these players in the early 90s. It is, let's see, we got PSA 10. It has a pop count of 89. And it looks like when I was doing the research, there was a recent sale actually on December 18th via eBay for $145. And then before that, in November and October, there were a couple sales in the $175 range for the PSA 10 copy.
That seems pretty strong for all the World Junior Championship rookies we've covered to date.
Yep, I thought it was a little above what we usually expect from that. I don't know what you want to call them, like those 90s players we know were really good, but they seem to be just kind of forgotten. This one seemed a little bit higher than what we usually see in that, because usually I want to say for the PSA 10 it will be anywhere from 60 to 100 sometimes with those players, and this one seems a little bit higher.
It's kind of apropos too with the World Juniors going on right now. That here we have a guy who's a WJC, as we like to call in the business, rookie. So here's my question for you. What if Upper Deck just feels lazy and totally decides to mail it in and just makes Connor Bedard's rookie a World Juniors Championship tribute? That'd be interesting. I was actually thinking about that with the World Juniors going on right now and all the World Junior cards. And I can't remember what they do now, if they come out with a set or they still do, because they have programs of excellence, I remember. And I don't know if they, what do they do anything with World Juniors right now? They got to do something with them, right? Like, I don't know. Good question. Somebody can message us and let us know. Someone knows and probably will let us know. For his rookie card also, frame of reference, the PSA 9 copy, there's 122 out there. It goes for about $25. There was a sale on eBay just on December 30th. And they're also, from a collector's perspective, that's a pretty cheap get. Mm-hmm. But you can even, if you want to go for the BGS 9.5, it goes around $90. Well, actually, never mind. Don't worry about the BGS 9.5. They don't sell very often. That was from February of 2021. It went for $93. Well, now that you've been pumping up Pronger, the market's going to explode. Yeah, now that I've pump and dump, even though I have no Chris Prongers. It was weird because, like you said, I never really considered him dirty. I know I didn't like him because he played St. Louis. He played a majority of his career with. Yeah. Obviously, they were a rival, and I didn't like him, but I never really considered him that dirty. But he obviously had 8 suspensions, and some players hate him, which it is. It's like one of those guys you love on your team, and when you play against him, you hate him. Yeah. It's probably not a bad way to go about it, though, right? If you're trying to be a tough guy out there and you should probably have people that don't like you very much.
Oh, we should say too, I didn't write this down, but it is funny that after his career, I think he went into some management stuff, but then he was, if I remember right, he was the director of player safety for the NHL.
Oh my gosh.
So he was in charge of like the suspensions, I think. And that's kind of funny to me that the guy that's been suspended 8 times was kind of, but I read somewhere someone equated it to like a computer hacker being hired by the FBI to hack their stuff. Like you want the insider with all the knowledge. So that was interesting.
All right, Chris Pronger, are we good?
We good.
A little bit more hobby relevance. So that's good. We'll look towards to 45 on next episode. All right, let's move on to movers and shakers. Like always, we'll start with who's hot. So the first guy, Troy, over the last 2 weeks, leads the NHL in scoring. So you might think this could be Connor McDavid, right? No.
That's what would first pop into my head. I mean, I know who the name is, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, Tage Thompson, maybe? Nope. J-Rob? Not a chance. It is Erik Karlsson.
Wow.
Back making his second appearance on Who's Hot, I believe, if I am correct. So the 32-year-old D-man for the Sharks, who's having a career renaissance this season, in the past 2 weeks has 12 points, Troy. 1 goal, 11 assists. I've kind of found it fascinating, though, that during that span, he's -5.
Yeah.
How many guys lead the NHL over a 2-week span and are -5 or more in plus minus?
My guess is he's on the ice constantly. So that's where this is where plus minus kind of gets out of hand sometimes. People put too much weight into it.
For the season now, he has 13 goals, 38 assists for 51 points in 38 games played. He's pacing over 100 points for the 2022-23 season. His best season to date, Troy, was 82-point campaign for Ottawa in 2015. So, okay, Troy, so far this season, the Sharks have scored 114 goals. And with 51 points, Karlsson is factored into 45% of the team's goals.
That's pretty good. I wonder, well, to me, that seems high.
McDavid's like 53%.
Okay, that seems high. I wonder what the league, I would love to run that for every team and see what their top point getter. Yeah, what their top point getter is. That's cool.
Well, without him, they would be struggling. Okay, so from a hockey card perspective, is 2009 the Young Gun PSA 10, Pop 186 with a 51% gem rate. Last sold for $170 on December 24th. It's up about 19%, Troy, in the past month. All-time high for this card is $270, which was set in January of 2021. You could also get his 2009 Young Gun Raw in about the $35 range. Last sale on that was December 29th. Just a little bit of context there, was about $25 at the start of the season, so it's up a little bit. Not a ton of sales on Karlsson, but values are trending up. Obviously, he's having an amazing year. Okay, next guy we want to cover is your guy, Mikko Rantanen.
Mikko. Wrong Mikko, though. We're Mikko Koivu, right?
I was never a huge fan.
No, neither was I.
He's great at faceoffs, like everyone always say. Okay, so Rantanen has 7 points in his past 5 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. For the season, he has 24 goals, 21 assists, 45 points in 35 games. On pace to score 59 goals and have 107 points. Per The Athletic and Peter Baugh, he's one of the best players in the world. He has led the Avalanche in points each of the past 2 seasons. He mixes vision with playmaking ability and scoring touch. And his 6'4" frame makes him near impossible for opponents to separate from pucks. He's arguably the best Finnish player in the world. And now, perhaps more than ever, he might be Rantanen's moments with Gabriel Landeskog, Valeri Nichushkin, and McKinnon all hurt. He's keeping a decimated Colorado team. Boy, they have been just crushed by injuries. Afloat and in playoff position, he's played top-line center when needed and has scored nearly a quarter of the defending champions' goals. He is kind of lost in the whole Colorado superstar
mix. Paragraph. I mean, what? That's like some glowing words for him.
Yeah, and I guess it just comes back to the question is, does the hobby care, right? And how many teams how many players on a given team will the hobby really get behind? And
like how much can they support?
Hype or however you want to put it, right? You got 2 already on the Avalanche with McKinnon and, of course, Makar. But Rantanen is pretty... We might have to come up with a name for, like, the Marner, Draisaitl, Rantanen... like the sidekicks or something like that. I don't know if that's good or not. Okay, so from a hockey card perspective, he's a 2015 rookie. So his Upper Deck Young Gun PSA 10 Pop 735 with a 48% gem rate is selling right now in the $145 range, plus or minus 20. I guess, depending sale by sale. Pretty cheap for a guy with 45 points and 24 goals. I mean, we'll get into sort of our criteria for breakout players in a little bit, but he's scored a lot of goals this year.
I remember this card because when we went to I think it was the first Bloomington card show we went to, I remember looking at this card. Some guy had it in his case. And I think he wanted like $80 for it at the time. Of course, I didn't buy it. Why would I? I just looked at it and said, man,
you just buy cards that go down. Excuse me, sir. What hockey cards do you have that you're very confident will lose most of their value in the next year? Those are the ones I'm exclusively
that's what
interested
I want,
in.
Please.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a guy to kind of keep our eye on a little bit and dig into a little bit more because I'm sort of curious about, if there is ever or will be potential with Rantanen. Do you want to take the next guy, Troy?
Yeah. So our third player on the Who's Hot is Elias Pettersson. He was the NHL third star of the week for the week ending December 25th, 2022. Over his last 5 games played, Pettersson has 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points. Half of those points coming from a 5-point night he had against Seattle on December 22nd. I found this little nugget, which I thought was interesting. His 5-point outing against Seattle marked the 4th time Pettersson recorded 5 or more points in a game, breaking a tie with Alexander Mogilny for the most 5-point outings in Vancouver Canucks history. Then I had to go and remember that Mogilny played for the Canucks. I forget where these guys always end up. I think Mogilny and I think Sabres, but no. He had a career with other teams. For the season, Pettersson has 17 goals, 27 assists for 44 points in 34 games played. His Young Guns is a 2018 Young Guns. Its PSA 10 has a pop of 1,741 with a 77% gem rate. So this one is up there. Right now, it goes around the $170 mark. At the end of November of last year, I guess, 2022, it was going around anywhere from the $140 to $160 range. So I guess my question is the gritty Young Gun still worth more? And I think it is.
Yeah, I picked up some Pettersson Young Guns in the offseason. I think I got a raw one that looks really, really nice for like $40. So probably not too bad.
Here's another one of these. I think his is the highest from that class, right? Is that what we remember besides gritty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally a little bit weaker of a year from I don't know though. Is that Tage the Rage year now too?
Oh, is that that might be. Is that Thompson's year now?
Where's Karlsson from? Do you know? Do you remember what country he's from?
Is it Sweden or Finland? Erik, where's he from?
Okay, I'm looking up. Oh, he's from Sweden. So it's an all Scandinavian Who's Hot, right?
Yep.
Karlsson,
Rantanen's Finland,
Mikko Rantanen, right? Yeah, and then Elias Pettersson's Sweden too, I believe. There we go. So there's Who's Hot. Will it be an all Scandinavian struggle bus? There it is. Well, we'll have to find out. I decided we should take a break from the goalies this week because we've been hammering up pretty hard.
You think the goalies are just all getting depressed listening to us? They're like, oh my God, here we go. Yeah. I gave up 15 goals in 3 games. But talking about goalies. This is totally off topic, but you and I watched a little bit of the Edmonton game last night. Yeah. And Jack Campbell played. He had 17 shots, let in 2 of them. He just does not look confident. He looks slow. He looks unsure where he was in the net from the stuff I saw. He seems to be really, I don't know what's going on with him.
Maybe they should just play Stewie Skinner every game.
Well, I'm guessing Skinner is the starter, right? He's got to have been getting more of the starts recently. Maybe I have
no idea.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's I don't follow every team. I don't know everything that's going on with them.
Is the New Year's Eve game, though, considered a big deal? Wouldn't a team want to win that one and start their top goalie, or would they just go with the regular rotation? I don't know. All right, so on the struggle bus, we're going to, like I said, we're going to give a break for the goalies. Going to go with a couple of young guys. We'll start with Alex Newhook, Troy, from the Colorado Avalanche. Speaking with the Colorado theme, I think this is a case of a nightmare season continuing. I don't know if that's too strong, but it sure feels that way. So much was expected of Newhook this season by the Avs and hockey collectors, too. If you recall, he was a big chase this past summer when 2021 Series 2 came out. Gosh, I want to say his raw cards were going in the $40 range for a while or something like that. Well, I believe he has 1 point in his past 9 games, giving him 7 goals, 5 assists for 12 points in 35 games played this year. He was just dropped, I think, last game, Troy, to the 4th line. So he's not going to get a ton of prime scoring opportunities until he works his way out of that position, I'm guessing. Just as a counterpoint to their point of context to that, he opened up the season, Troy, as centering the team's second line. And that was when everyone's healthy. So he's on the fourth line with a bunch of players hurt for them. From a hockey card perspective, his 2021 Young Gun Raw last sold, Troy, on December 27th for $1.25 US.
Wow.
That's pretty brutal. I think most are going in like the $3-4 range.
Yeah, so now is not the time to sell my Alex Newhook collection.
No. At the start of the season, it was $35 US. You can get a 2021 Young Gun PSA 10 for about $50 US. Well, I think you asked, well, is it time to sell? I know, a little bit in jest. But the kid's still only 21 years old. He just, I think, crossed. I saw an article that both him and Dawson Mercer just played in the last week or so their 100th game. So if you're of the mind that you think he could turn it around, if you can pick up some of his cards for, gosh, we can get a Young Gun for $1 or $2, might not be a ton of bad buys or a bad buy there. Like I said, if you believe in it. But yeah, Alex Newhook, not great. Well, the next guy, Troy, possibly has had even a worse time of it lately.
Mm-hmm.
We had to throw in our guy Laffy, who the big headlines were, I think a couple of days ago now, he was a healthy scratch for the first time. I think Gallant, coach of the Rangers, was not super happy with how he had been playing recently. And for a number one overall pick to become a healthy scratch is going to draw headlines, of course. Looks like, though, Troy has a one-game move. I think he's back. We're recording this on the 1st of the year. I think he's back tonight in the lineup, maybe playing on the third line I saw. Hasn't been a great year, though, for Laffy. The 21-year-old winger has 5 goals, 12 assists for 17 points in 36 games played. Hasn't scored a goal since December 7th. He's technically, though, pacing ahead of last year. I think he had 31 points in 78 or 79 games. I think the issue is everyone's just waiting for this guy to take a big jump, and it's not happening. Did see an article from The Athletic by Arthur Staple. It was a couple days ago where I think the headline was something like, it's a critical juncture for Laffy and the Rangers. And a paragraph from there really stood out to me where Scout, I think it was in charge of that region or that area of teams, had talked about his performance of late. And I'll just read what he said. He doesn't seem to accomplish much out there with or without the puck, said one NHL scout whose coverage area includes the Rangers. When you watch him play, it's hard to find him out there. Has little impact on the outcome. I don't know if it's lack of confidence, but his processing seems a little bit of a step behind. That's not great. It doesn't inspire confidence.
Well, what worries me about that is he's saying is like hockey smarts and things he's seen is not working at a high level that you need in the NHL. You know, if it was a physical stuff, you can improve your physical stuff. Obviously, you can probably improve your hockey IQ a little bit, but that's a lot harder to improve. If you don't have that, that's tough to like just all of a sudden gain or improve on in a short time period.
Well, and another thing that we hear a lot about people that want to defend players that maybe we're pointing out are not producing a lot of points is, well, you don't watch every game and they're impacting the game so much and really being physical out there. And man, they're playing so great. It's just not translating to the scoreboard. Well, this flies in the face of any sort of that type of rebuttal.
Yeah. I mean, on other players, yeah, it's probably true. It is probably true. Like, obviously, we can't watch every game. But this is one of those. This quote is very concerning and just at face value. Obviously, it doesn't go great into depth, but it's enough there that you're like, whoa, that's kind of interesting.
So he's a healthy scratch. And then, as you might imagine, you start to see all these kind of trade buzz and trade rumor articles that come out. My question to you is, do you think at this point a guy like Laffy could use a fresh start? Might be good for him?
I don't know. I'm curious what his relationship is with the head coach. If it's more a nurturing, tough love kind of situation, or is he just out, like totally not in anymore on what Gallant's trying to sell? That's where I would lean what that relationship is like. I don't think he needs a fresh start. I think he's still young, still a lot to learn. Not every player's going to come in the league right away, even if you have that much hype, i.e. Shane Wright, and succeed. You might have to go through some struggles.
Well, there's a couple things that I wonder, and I think we've asked this question before, where you have that whole kind of crop of young guys that seem to have a lot of potential, like Capo Caco, Heidel, right? That they don't need, or I guess none of them seem to be really breaking through. Mm-hmm. So is there something about their development or how the coach develops or just the overall structure Another question I think you always have to ask about the market is, I don't know if New York is the best place for everybody, right? There's a ton of pressure, ton of visibility, and would a guy like him maybe be personally more successful going to a place where it just, I don't want to bash any other market, but it's just not New York.
Yeah.
Right.
Could
like
be.
a Nashville or Arizona or something like that, or Minnesota.
Some players like less limelight. I mean, New York is, you're in the belly of the beast. Besides that, and like Montreal, Toronto, some of those big markets, and
yep,
you're going to be under the spotlight constantly.
Okay, hockey card perspective is 2020 Young Gun PSA 10 Pop 1,257 with a 39% gem rate. Last sold for 161 US Troy on December 31st, so that would have been yesterday, the day we're recording. It had dipped as low as $117 on December 27th. That's crazy for how much hype and chase there's been around Laffy. It's down about 32% in the past 3 months. All-time high for this card was 1,050 on January 2021. Oof. That buyer has lost 90% of their value.
I'm just looking at...
Is that you, Troy?
Nope, it was not me. I did not buy Laffy. I was looking at the all-time high for the Kaprizov, which was higher. It looks like. Was that right? A $2,000 sale on Kaprizov's PSA 10 in May of 2021. Wow,
it's always the first.
Yeah,
right. If you learn anything from listening to us on the show, just wait 2 months.
Yeah.
Like, you need to write down my hockey collecting rules, and rule number 1 is just wait 2 months. You will save yourself so much money.
Yep.
By doing that. If you can. Hard to do, I understand, but a good rule nonetheless.
Yeah, so definitely it was not me. I did not buy any Laffy PSA 10s.
So this just in, there are a couple more additions this week to the Struggle Bus. And these nominations come from Josh and Troy's wives, who claim that we were completely pathetic on New Year's Eve last night.
We were. I was so tired. I just wanted to go to bed. Like 7 o'clock hit, and I'm like, I am just done. I want to go to bed, throw on a hockey game. I kind of fell asleep on the couch for spurts of a couple minutes here and there, but the wives were playing games, being happy, excited, and we're just like, tired.
The wives and kids wanted us to join in, and I think both of us were done with New Year's Eve at about, like you said, 7, 8 o'clock, which makes us old and pathetic. But
we're on the Struggle Bus. We're hanging out.
We're on the Struggle Bus. We're being grumpy. We're like grumpy old men.
Yes, we are.
New Year's Eve. Should make a movie about that. Okay. That was Who's Hot in the Struggle Bus for this week. So we have Newhook, Lafreniere on the Struggle Bus. Hopefully those guys can turn around. I have a bunch of Newhooks, so that would be really nice. Want to switch gears now a little bit and start to get into our 2023, I guess, content, call it, or we have a number of predictions, number of ideas, stuff we want to see. Kind of fits nicely with last episode where we did more of a look behind. Now we're going to take a look ahead. And I wanted to start, Troy, with probably what I would consider one of the biggest driving concepts in all of sports card collecting, which translates to hockey as well. And that's the idea of identifying, discovering, finding good deals on that next big thing, right? The next breakout star. That's sort of everybody's lottery fantasy.
Yep.
Right. When we talked about kind of our buys of the year, wasn't it like a Tage Thompson Future Watch Auto last episode that somebody bought in January of 2022 for like $20 US or something? And now it's like $400 or something. Like, that's the dream, right? We all live for those kind of scenarios and try to chase those people. So then it kind of leads to, when looking ahead at 2023, well, who are the candidates to be, call it the J-Rob or Tage the Rage, right? Tage Thompsons of 2023. And how can you identify maybe who's most likely to do that? So there's a number of ways you can go about this. You can just make guesses, kind of the players that you like, the guys that play for your team. But if you really want to give yourself, I think, the best opportunity to try to figure out, okay, who could this be? The best way to do that is you have to have a criteria, right? And ultimately, because there's no way to accurately predict 100% who's going to be the next J-Rob. It's totally impossible. So what I did, Troy, because I was thinking about this a lot over the past probably 3 or 4 weeks, is I came up with my criteria to narrow down your candidate pool, maybe at best case scenario and try to identify who those breakout players could be. Then we'll get your thoughts. And then after that, we asked listeners and followers on social media who their candidates were, and we'll kind of go through that as well. So I think this will be kind of a fun conversation. All right, let's start with my criteria. And I want you to critique this because I'm actually going to use this as I kind of look to maybe make some buys over the next few weeks. So criteria number one is a player has to be a goal scorer. And I have a little note here where I say assist machines rarely get hobby love or high value. Right, maybe call this one the Kucherov rule.
Definitely, agree with you 100%. I mean, even I was trying to think in my head of like, let me see. Can I think of anyone off the top of my head, that has 5 goals and 50 assists, and the hobby's like, oh, look at these values skyrocket. It doesn't happen. Sider, I mean, maybe was an exception last year, but obviously he was a Calder candidate, won Rookie of the Year. But again, he only had 7 goals and a lot of assists, if I remember right, was his stat line last year. But yeah.
Can we do a quick Sider tangent based on, because I just had a thought based on what you just said.
All right, go.
And it's really in the form of a question. So Sider tangent, here we go. Do you think it's possible that all the Sider hype had something or a lot or whatever degree you want to put at it to do with the Cale Makar hangover? And what I mean by that is we have this once-in-a-generation defenseman that comes in. All of a sudden, people are excited about defensemen. And holy smokes, could we have another one? And the hobby just wanted that to be Sider.
Could be. There's probably some stuff there. I don't know how much of it drove his value, but there's definitely some stuff there. But yeah, that's what I know. I don't know. There's a little bit, but I don't know how much. All
right, so Josh's rule number 1 is you have to be a goal scorer. Rule number 2 should lean heavily towards skaters, so no goalies. Sorry, Troy. Rule 2A should lean towards forwards. Right? You have Cale Makar is the exception, but he's a generational talent and he's not the rule. Right? Should lean towards skaters and towards forwards. Rule 3, age 25 or less, which indicates that there's still potential for the player to do more or to do a lot consistently in the future. Right? If you have your breakout season at 33. I think most people assume one and done, and there's not going to be a lot of speculation driven into your rookie card values. You on board so far with that?
I'm on board.
Okay. Rule 4, can't have a superstar already on their team that overshadows them. We'll call this the Draisaitl rule, right? So again, general rules of thumb. And then I call it rule 5. These are just bonuses, right? So bonuses for A, being in a big hockey market like Toronto or Montreal or Boston or Chicago, New York. B, having a personality or flash to their game, right? And C, being on a good team that has a chance to make the playoffs and do some damage, be relevant throughout the season.
Yep.
So that's the criteria I came up with. All right, now we'll apply the criteria. And I have 3 guys that I think are 2023 breakout candidates. In my mind, the most likely guys based on the rules and criteria that I just laid out. So I'll kind of go in order. My first one, call my number 1 candidate, Troy, I think is Jack Hughes, which I don't think is a huge shock to a lot of people, but he's 21 years old, so less than 25. Scores goals, has 20 so far in the season. His 41 points in 2022 also leads New Jersey, so I think he's number 1 on the Devils for both goals and points. Devils are a good young team, right? In a pretty good hockey market, a lot of young, interesting players, playoff team likely, so should have some relevance there. What do you think of Hughes as a breakout candidate?
I agree. Definitely. I mean, I would say the Devils, there's been some rumblings like, man, they might make a deep run into the playoffs. They have had some good hockey lately. So I agree with the goals. Your criteria was a lot of the tangible numbers you can put stuff to. So lots with 20 goals, 21 assists, young. I'm on board. You're following your criteria.
Okay. I'm doing it, man. So from a hockey cards perspective, the question is, okay, what do I invest in? Right? If I think Hughes has a chance to break out. Mm-hmm. First obvious place to look is his Young Guns, which is 2019. PSA 10, Troy, is a pop 2,461. Oof. Very high. It has a gem rate of, check this out, 76%.
Wow.
So more than 3 out of 4 sent to PSA, come back at 10. It's currently selling for about $202 US. As big as I am on Hughes, I think I might stay away from this card because that pop count and gem rate scare me. What we kind of called in our 2022 year in a review, right? The Kaprizov effect, mm-hmm. right? Where It's just a lot. And I don't know what the print runs were like for 2019. Probably nothing like 2020 or 2021. But I don't know, man. It still scares me a little bit. Not that 202 is like a ton for a young gun. And I think too, right, if you want to compare him to like J-Rob or Tage Thompson, when they popped off and their young guns were doubling and tripling in value, their pop counts were really low.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to rise a little bit. I think like Tage Thompson at the end of November, wasn't some like 40 or something? I mean, just ridiculously low, not 2,400 something. So I think a better investment for Hughes might be look at like a Seismic Gold. There's just a record one that's sold. You can still get his autos out of 25 for pretty cheap. Or Future Watch Auto, which right now raw goes in the 480 range. Right, those are limited to $9.99. You're not going to kind of have maybe the pop count or gem rate kind of concerns. I don't know. Does that pop count and gem rate, does that scare you away a little bit from Hughes from an investing standpoint?
Because I'm forever scarred by the Kaprizov stuff, so that definitely scares me. I'm wondering on the Future Watch, do you have any thought around taking a gamble on the inscribed? Like was it first 50-ish, if I remember right, that have the special whatever. They put the date on there.
Not at all. I don't think they're hand numbered. I think it's just got the date.
Is it just the first? Yeah, the date
written on there too. It's just going to be more expensive, right? So at $500 but again, you're limiting you're creating more scarcity just by having that more exclusive inscribed version. But again, like the Seismic Golds, I like obviously the Cup RPAs would be good, or Future Watch. Okay, the next guy. So that's Jack Hughes. Next guy is Cole Caulfield. This one was a little bit tough for me, not because I didn't want him on my list. I kind of feel like he's teetering on that like superstar level right now. But I ultimately feel like he hasn't quite broken through yet. And one of the points of evidence that I'll use is sort of today we published the most cards sold in December the cards sold in December by each player. And if you go back to the last couple months, Caulfield's been pretty high on the list. So in December, he was 6th. Right, with only Gretzky, McDavid, Ovechkin, Robertson, and Crosby ahead of him. So he's got a lot of hype already. I just don't know if he's considered like an all-out star yet at this point, and there's still maybe some room for him to break through even a little bit more. So again, going through my criteria is 21, check there, right? He's a goal scorer, 21 goals on the year. Also second on the Canadians in points with 30, couple points behind Nick Suzuki. I'm not, okay, let's talk about the rule where you have to be the best player in your team. I don't feel like Suzuki would overshadow Caulfield. I sort of feel like it'd be the other way. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
When push comes to shove.
I don't think of him as overshadowing him.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's like a Draisaitl kind of possibility with Caulfield. Maybe the other way around with Suzuki. Again, you look at Montreal, man, they have just a boatload of young, exciting players, and they should be relevant and good. Maybe not as so much today as you got your guy Arbor.
Oh, yeah.
Wi-Fi. Right? You're out Slavkovsky. You got Suzuki, who's still young, but youngest captain in Canadians history, and Caulfield. So future could be pretty bright for them. Obviously, huge hockey market, right? Doesn't get much bigger than Montreal from that case. And so I think that there's still room for upside for Caulfield. What do you think?
I agree, because I actually had him on my list when I was thinking about who I thought were the breakout candidates. I am worried about his size a little bit, but we're seeing these smaller guys are being successful. Who knows how, what happens in, 5 years down the road if they get beat up and their bodies just can't handle it anymore. But that's one thing that I'm worried about, but it seems like it's not affecting him at any rate for this season.
So from a hockey card perspective, his 2021 Young Gun PSA 10, he was a Series 1 2021, remember? That was printed in the U.S. and had at a facility that was not the same one as Series 2. And there's a lot of low gem rates with that. So it's a pop 864, but a 35.7% gem rate. Compare that again, going back to Jack Hughes at 76, so it's less than half of his gem rate. Current sales are on 400 US. Because of the gem rate, this is a card that I would actually consider investing in. And I think we made this point before. When it comes to Caulfield and at a 35% rate and knowing it's Series 1, I think you're much better off buying just the PSA 10, trying to get a good deal that route, versus buying a bunch of raw and submitting them to PSA or SGC or BGS, wherever you want to go, and assuming that you're going to get a gem mint because it's probably not going to happen. Okay, so my 2023 breakout candidates so far, Hughes, Copfield, I have one more guy. I don't think we've talked about this next guy much, but probably should have to this point on the show. It's the old man of the group at 22 years old, Andreas Svechnikov for your Troy Carolina Hurricanes. He has 19 goals on the year, pacing for over 40 on the season. Little point of context, last season was his best year to date with 30 goals, so his goal scoring seems to be trending up. He's on a really good young team, again, very constant with Hughes and Caufield, with tons of talent, so they should be very relevant today. They are today, and going forward. I saw they've only lost like 6 games today so far, something like that.
Yeah, my Stanley Cup prediction's looking pretty good right now.
You did predict them, didn't you?
I did. I had the Hurricanes.
Oh, wow. Good one. If there's any cons to Svechnikov, and I really want your feedback on this, Troy, because I just don't know, are the market, right? You just don't get a ton of visibility. I don't know if I've seen him play this year.
I was going to say, seen him play, or have you even heard about him, really? I mean,
no.
We know about him because we're actively looking at the hockey market, but if you have maybe not the most invested hockey collector, but he likes to collect hockey cards, how do you hear about this guy besides looking at top scorers by every team? And then when you get to Carolina, you see him out there. So, yeah, it's definitely – I don't think I've seen Carolina on any of the TNTs or ESPN games we've watched. Obviously, we have ESPN Plus, so I can watch them there. But
yeah. And then the other thing I put on a con, I don't think subscribe to this, but if you believe in the whole Russian thing.
Yeah, I think I subscribed to that way earlier. Like, I thought maybe that was a thing, but as we keep progressing, I don't see it as I don't hear about it, so I don't think it's that makes that much of a difference being a player from Russia, unless you straight out come out and start spewing all your political beliefs as a Russian hockey player and how you support Putin and all that, then maybe you'll get affected a little bit, but I don't think that's the case right now.
So beyond the geopolitical stuff, the one thing that I thought of the other day, and this might be a poor theory, but is part of the Russian thing that, okay, so if you compare to Connor Bedard, who people have been hearing about for forever now, and can see in the juniors play and just have a lot more visibility, could that they just come into the league with more hype?
Yep.
But then could that apply to Scandinavians too, or do you think, I just don't know enough how to compare sort of the pre-NHL hype between Scandinavians and Russians?
I think there's a lot more coverage now than there used to be, and obviously I don't want to sound like this. Okay, how do we get the Athletic to pay us? Because I think we bring them up 5 times every episode, but the Athletic, them coming on the scene and the amount of stuff they do on every prospect, you can get information now on these Russian guys, Finnish, Scandinavian guys. So I think previously, maybe in the last 3 years, it was probably a little tougher, but I feel like the amount of information coming out now is becoming a lot better. But who knows now with the whole war for Russia, if that closes off their borders a little more, and maybe we don't get enough information out of them anymore of what's going on with their prospects. Plus, there's always that little, I don't know what the KHL, NHL relationship is, but there always seems to be some animosity every once in a while because they don't, obviously the KHL doesn't want the NHL to take all their players.
Well, we saw that with Kaprizov, right? Where the Wild took him, 2015 or 16 or something like that?
3 to 4 years to get over here.
Oh, think what could have been too. Yep. If you would have come over earlier. Okay, back to Svechnikov on the hockey card perspective. His Young Guns is a 2018 PSA 10 Pop 853. Has a gem rate 70% or 69%, so pretty high there. Last sold for $225 on December 28th. This is a pretty big spike. Earlier in December, they were going for around 90. So you could have got him pretty cheap. If I was looking at Svechnikov, I think, again, I would try to find maybe a Seismic Gold or Future Watch or something other than the Young Gun there too. Because I, like you, Troy, am starting to get really wary of high gem rate Young Guns and high pop count Young Guns. So those are my 3 right now potential breakout candidates for 2023. And I kind of laid out my criteria or rules to go by. So we'll go, before we get to the listeners, I want to circle back to you, Troy.
Yeah.
Number one, is there any other rules or criteria you would have, or players that I didn't mention?
I like the criteria. Actually, criteria is fantastic. I think it's a great starting point. For the players, when I thought about this, I didn't go into depth. I just thought, well, maybe this guy. I had Caufield and Svechnikov. But then I started thinking more, and I was like, and this is just more a personal hope. I was really hoping Kirby Dach could succeed more in Montreal. But then looking at your criteria, what's Dach? He's 3rd in scoring with Montreal. who's he got above him? Caulfield and Suzuki. I think using your criteria, it's kind of ruling him out. Obviously, he doesn't score that much. He's only got 5 goals on the year. He's young, though. He's 22. But I think I could, having those 2 other players on his team might not be the greatest thing. So I wrote him down. I could probably not see him being a breakout candidate this year, even though I want him to be.
Or he could get really good, and Suzuki and Caulfield are very good, and he becomes the Montreal's version of Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, could be.
Right, that's the problem, is that, and I don't know why this is, and I wonder if it kind of works for all the other sports too. If they just 1 to 2 guys max is all kind of the hobby will support from a value perspective, as they maybe, there can't be 100 superstars every year in the league, I guess.
Yeah. And my other point was going to be, I'm going to actually jump on something you said, and I agree with you 100%. I would tread very lightly in making big breakout bets on goalies going forward. I think we are just seeing a fundamental shift in the game where skill and scoring is seeing a rampant increase, and it does not seem like the goaltending aspect of the game is keeping up. And I put right now, skaters are pulling away from goalies. It's the hard facts. We've seen it in the scoring numbers that we see come out all the time about the seasons and goals per games. And I would just keep that in mind when you think about making a big bet on a goalie breakout. If you want to go down that route, all the hype value a goalie can build up, even during a streak, takes 1 game and it's gone. Like just 1 bad game, and it seems like it can erase everything. So I would reiterate that on the whole goalie thing. And we've always heard too, goalies are like pitchers. They don't get much love, or it's a very streaky position where a forward can go a game without scoring a goal and no one bats an eye. But a goalie gives up 5 and it's like, holy cow.
I sort of feel like when we really started to get into hockey cards, meaning you and I, that despite hearing that from other people, neither of us quite believed it.
Yep.
Is that accurate from your perspective too?
100%.
Like, I still felt like goalies should be a good investment, and I'm coming around to where you are now and sort of feel the same. I still like buying goalie cards, but I just look at it from pure PC collecting and enjoyment experience, and don't expect any of them to go up much.
You can definitely find your pockets and find if you can, obviously this is like stock markets, right? You got to time the market, which is almost impossible, but you can still find your gems like your Ottingers and Sorokins and get a run up at value, and then hopefully get out in time if you're in it from a perspective of making money on an investment. But I agree. I think my eyes have been opened up a little more to the whole goalie aspect of the hobby.
Okay, so to round out our breakout candidates discussion, one of the things we did on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server and on Instagram is we asked listeners and followers for your guys' input as who you think are the most likely candidates to be the top breakout performer for 2023. The first one, Troy, I'm not sure qualifies, so I want to get your input on this. The most people say Connor Bedard. And given that you have not yet played a game in the league, I think that the word breakout to me, and maybe this is just my definition, applies to someone that's been in the league, maybe flying a little bit under the radar for a while, and then a la Tage Thompson just goes bananas.
Yeah, I don't think I include Bedard, even though I'm super excited to see what he can do and what he does when he gets to the NHL. But yeah, I'm probably with you on that.
He's probably already in star or superstar kind of category and hasn't even played a game because the hype is so big. Okay, the next guy we heard from listeners was Cole Caulfield. We talked about him. Jack Hughes. Now here's a guy, this next one, that I think merits a few seconds of discussion. It's Dylan Cousin. I thought hard about including him on my list, but when I went to the Draisaitl rule, as I call it, now that you have Tage Thompson that's exploded onto the scene, is there room enough? And with some of the other, you got JJP, you got Jack Quinn, Owen Power. I'm just not, could there be a second version of Tage Thompson on the same team 2 years in a row? I don't know. He's got the talent, and he was playing better this year. So it's I'm not saying it's a bad.
I think I was just thinking he's 5th on that team right now in scoring. I thought he was higher. He's actually 5th, but interesting. Yeah, Tage Thompson, wow. Alex Tuck, Skinner, and Dahlin all above him, but then the other guys you mentioned just from the hype perspective and being young.
It just feels a little crowded right now.
It's crowded. We've said that about Buffalo. It's good to be a Sabres fan. He has a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm. Next guy I thought about too is Cole Perfetti. Right, I just feel like, and what I think about for him is that the market in Winnipeg is just screaming for a superstar. You know, they got a number of guys that produce for them, like Scheifele and Josh Morrissey and Kyle Connor, but none of them seem to have panache, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Perfetti could be the guy, but I don't feel like he's producing enough yet to quite get him there. But not a bad suggestion, nonetheless. I could see if you're a Winnipeg fan, you wanting it to be him badly. Because I probably would. Any thoughts on Perfetti?
No, he's one guy. I never know what to say about him. I don't know him well enough.
Yeah. Next guy is Victor Olofsson. This is a guy I just don't know enough about.
I was going to say our silence is deafening right there. So
dead air.
The next guy I actually kind of agree with, just from everything we've seen, what team he's on, how well they're playing right. I think the Kraken are playing great for what they are.
Yeah, so we'll move on. Olofsson, when everyone's making millions on Olofsson, we'll have nothing because we're dumb about it. But who you're talking about, of course, is Matty Beniers, and he's one I teetered with too. I just don't know if we're putting a rookie on that list. It's like he's played half of a year. He scored like 11 goals or something like that.
Yep.
So really small sample size. That's the only thing that's kind of holding me back on him. Next guy was, is it Jakob? Is that how you pronounce it? Verana?
Oh God, I always say just Jacob because it looks like Jacob to me.
I think though it's pronounced Jakob, but I could be kind of making a fool out of myself here. Another guy I don't know a ton about. Do you? Yeah. So he's a guy that we would miss the boat on. Moving on is Juraj Slavkovsky. He has the hype being the top pick. I think it's very admirable that he made the team at 18 and he's been playing consistently. He just hasn't, and he's looked good at times. Like we've seen highlights where he's a big dude and he's made some good plays. But for my money, it's a little bit early on him. I think there's a good chance if we're having the same conversation next year that if he continues to progress, that he would be on the list. So maybe for me, he's like a year behind or two. I mean, he's 18 years old, right? Kirby Dach is he's the one that you talked about. Somebody mentioned where I just question: can he produce enough? Can he produce consistently? And is there enough room on that team? 4 more guys people mentioned. So Miro Heiskanen, kind of a good candidate from a hockey perspective. I'll kind of loop him into with Roope Hintz, who was, so there's 2. And it's just like, these guys are very like Mikko Rantanen-ish to me.
As I said, this is that group of guys that they all cluster together. And
you have a very bright star in J-Rob right. So Draisaitl rule for me is in full effect with those guys. The next one's pretty interesting is Tim Stützle. Somebody on that Ottawa squad is just ripe to kind of be the man, right? I'm not sure if it'll be Brady Tkachuk, even though he's pretty young at this point still. But I just don't know if there's enough flair to his game or what the issue is, where you just never hear of him in that upper echelon of players. He seems to produce pretty well, and he's the captain, right? I think they made him captain there.
Yeah, I think you're right. We need our Ottawa friends to chime in. And speaking of Ottawa, I don't know if we want to bring this up, but last show, right, we talked about Drake Batherson.
Oh, yeah, and being one of the worst performing.
I don't know if this is the right spot to bring it up, but
Go ahead.
Well, what a listener reached out to us, and what was the topic we were talking about? It was
struggle bus and cards that had lost the most value.
Yeah, struggle bus for 2022, and Drake Batherson was on there, and we were kind of talking, hemming and hawing what we thought, and then we had a listener.
And he's having a good year.
Yeah, he's having a good year. So we had a listener reach out and let us know that Batherson's name is in the whole Hockey Canada sexual assault investigations. His name has come up, and he hasn't really talked about it or said anything, which leads people to believe there might be something there, and he's just being quiet based on advice from lawyers. Again, I'm speculating, but that is probably a big reason to what has maybe caused a little bit of drop of value in his cards. I wanted to bring that up just so we got clarification from a listener. And do you remember who the listener was? We should probably give them credit.
It was our guy Schwab.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
Yeah. Our friend from Mississauga area. No, he's not Mississauga, but close by. We met him at the Expo Dave. Yeah. So thank you for that. So Stützle, right? He could be one. I think it's not a bad pick but he's just got to take his game to the next level. Maybe the market is a tiny bit it's Canada, so you'll always have, but wouldn't you say that probably sort of the smallest / least hype markets in Canada would be Winnipeg and Ottawa? Pretty good compared to some U.S. markets. But I
think so. I don't know how it's Calgary. I don't know how big these cities are. I apologize. I don't want to insult anyone. Actually, Calgary, you guys are the greatest because you're What are you? Our number two?
The number one listeners show.
Yeah, number one listening city of the show. So Calgary, you're great. No, but
I plan to retire to Calgary. I plan on. I just want to go there and spend all my money, so all my tax dollars go to the beautiful citizens of Calgary. Okay, last guy is Philip Tomasino, who I just don't know a lot about. The one kind of thing that I think about when thinking about Tomasino is just the Nashville market, and it's really hard to stand out from a international perspective when you're playing in Nashville. So I think a really good list, amazing suggestions. There could very well be some big breakout stars here. And just to go over quickly, the names the listeners threw in were Bedard, who, again, I don't think quite qualifies, but we're going to be hearing about him constantly for the next probably 10 years.
Can I ask
Caulfield, Hughes.
I'm going to ask a dumb question on Tomasino. Has he played in the NHL this year? I don't see him having any stats. So I'm curious why that one, or I'm curious what the listener thought around that one.
Well, who's the guy? Oh, it was Tanner Jeannot. Because Tanner Jeannot had a really good year last year and had struggled a little bit more this year. He was one of those guys where people were saying, yeah, he's not scoring, but he's real big and physical, doing all the dirty things, the little things to help the team produce. Yeah. But I haven't heard of Tomasino.
Well, I'm going to say right now, I feel a little better than not knowing any, because I mean, that name comes up. I'm like, I have no idea, but maybe that's why I have no idea. And
I just know it from the young guns, from all the packs I opened.
And what jumped out is I looked him up real quick and I saw his current salary was $70,000. I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I looked and it looks like he doesn't have any stats this year for the NHL. So, okay. But
so he'd be coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, which you can still do. I mean, you can still put him on the list.
It's possible. Chip in a chair, Troy.
Yep.
So Caulfield, Hughes, Cousins, Perfetti, Victor Olofsson, Matty Beniers, Jakob Verana, Juraj Slavkovsky, Kirby Doc, Miro Heiskanen, Tim Stutzel. Oh, God. Now I'm all twisted up with names again. Tomasino, who we're not even sure plays hockey. And Rope Hens, right? Those are the names the listeners threw in to our list. So I think a pretty good discussion. And these are all people to think about. I'm sure it'll be ultimately in the next, because nobody would have guessed Tage Thompson or maybe some people in Buffalo. But before we continue on our 2023 predictions, do you want to mention quick our friends and partners stand-up displays, Troy? Very quick reminder that a custom card stand 2 or 3 will make displaying your cards at home on your Facebook page or Instagram way better. These stands are awesome. They look amazing. We love our stands that we got. There's show listeners and people in our Discord that are showing their stands, and they're all pretty amazing. They have a fantastic product called Direct Print, where you basically just send them an image, a picture, your logo, whatever you want, and they print it right on your stands, and super quick in turning those around too. If you don't want something custom, they have some pre-made ones for like McDavid, Ovi, Crosby, or cities that you can use to show off your PC. Best news, Troy, if you haven't gotten your customized or hockey-themed card stands yet, is that if you use the promo code Gongshow at checkout, you can save 10%. Not just you, Troy. Anyone can save 10%, which is pretty cool. So we suggest that you go to standupdisplays.co, check out all their stands, and use that Gong Show promo code and save 10%. Also, they're a really good follow on Instagram. They give a lot of stand ideas, show a lot of stands other people make. So go ahead and follow them on the gram, as the kids say, too. All right, let's move on into our kind of 2023 year preview in the hockey hobby. Our next topic is our wish list. It made me think of the Sears wish list. Remember the catalog for
Sears catalog, JCPenney catalog. I thumbed through as a kid.
Oh, that was the best, man. What I mean here is it's just like what we want to see happen in 2023 in the hockey card hobby and market. And both Troy and I came up with the list, so I'll just start and go through mine quickly. So here's what I just pray to the hockey gods happens in the calendar year 2023. Somehow, Troy, some way, I would love for Upper Deck to get reasonably caught up on new releases. That would just be fantastic. Don't know how they'll do it, but I think it's sorely, sorely needed.
Yeah, I'll give a hint. That's one of mine, too, and I'll go into a little more detail, but I agree with you 100%.
Well, go ahead right now, since we're talking about it.
So I just kind of thought about this, and I'm like, obviously, number one on my list is Upper Deck gets the release backlog caught up. But I said, if that can't be done, I want some kind of official statement. I think I'm done with the silence. And hey, they can give it to us, Hockey Cards Gongshow. They can come on our show. We'll let them do the spiel all they want on the official statement on the backlog, but I would love to know just what the current status is.
Breaking news. We've never had breaking news.
No, we haven't.
Gosh darn it. Hey, our 2023 goal is to get breaking news.
Yeah, we need to start breaking stuff, be journalists. But no, I just want a current status, or an official statement on the current statuses. What are the issues? How are they being addressed? I think that's a reasonable expectation. I know it's in Upper Deck's right. They're a private company. They don't have to say a word. They don't have to tell us anything. They don't have to file 10Qs, 10Ks, all that stuff. But if the backlog can't get caught up in the next 12 to 18 months, is it time to start looking at canceling products? We've talked to them about that. We know why they won't. We know what's going on. Or are they going to have to go start releasing multiple products a month? But I don't see how they can ever catch up. If there's, and I took a rough guess, there's approximately, let's say, 20 major releases a year. If you're not doubling up, you're never going to catch up. We're just not. Or if you got to cancel or double up or do something. I don't know. I wish I could get more clarity. So I will
remember from our last show, right? There are 11 releases behind. So we're in 2023. There's still 11 2021 products, and including, I guess, 2020, the Cup, that haven't come out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you're officially 11 behind. Now let's go back. And we didn't write this in our notes. This is off the top of our head. I don't know if this is going to work or not. But go back to like September, right? Artifacts was the only release in September, correct?
I'm going to say yes, but I have no clue. I'm just going to...
Okay, we think Artifacts. Then November was Series 1, and nothing else came out in November, right?
I don't think so. When did Game Use come out? Was that December?
And then Game Use came out in early December, and that was the last product to come out, right?
Yeah.
So they're at like one a month. Now, you said already that there's 20 releases a year, and they're 11 behind.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, they need to, to get quote unquote caught up in a year. That would be 3 releases about a month to get caught up. I just don't know how that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, and when I said the 20,
and I don't know if that would be a good thing either.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with you 100% there. And when I said the 20 major releases, that doesn't count all the other stuff. That's all like CHL and all that. And again, it was just approximate. So, but it's going to be plus or minus a couple of releases here and there. But
and then they announced a new set in the last couple of days, right?
Yep.
The Parker's Champions or whatever.
That's right, they did.
New set. What do you guys? Wait a minute. I mean, cool. I like new, but how is this going to help?
Yeah, so I guess on my whole thing, bring this all back, is just I would love an official statement. Again, I completely understand all the issues, the stuff that's going on. I don't think it's Upper Deck's fault. There's a lot of moving pieces. However, I would love a statement. I get, again, they're a private company. They don't have to say a word if they don't want to, but that's just on my wish list. Boom.
Love it. Try for the win.
Yeah.
Okay, my next point is it's hard to find the perfect way to word this, but I'm just hoping for stability in the hockey card market overall in 2023. There's tons of talk about the overall economic conditions, geopolitical issues, sports cards markets, collectibles, NFTs, cryptocurrency. Man, I would take like 3% growth at this point. I just don't want like a big crash or huge waves, but there's no way to predict it. I'm just that's just my wish list. I'm hoping for stability. Next one is I want to see, Troy, this year, tangible evidence that the popularity of the sport and the hockey card collecting market is at least making incremental growth. I wrote down a little paragraph here, and I'm curious if you would agree or disagree with this or have noticed this yourself. I think here in the U.S., right, we not only follow hockey cards, but we listen to podcasts about sports cards. We follow, I don't know what you call them, sports card related shows or influencers, whatever you want to call it. And I find that hockey cards are hardly ever mentioned within the greater context of sports cards here in the U.S. My one exception to that is probably Jeff Wilson, because I know he went to the expo. He has mentioned hockey cards on it. I don't religiously watch or listen to his content, but I do know that, and people pointed out to me, that he will talk about cards and hockey cards he's bought. But it seems like here in the U.S., it's all, of course, football, basketball, and baseball. And I get that, right? I'm not expecting hockey to go from the big three to the big four. But what's been really interesting to me, especially over the last year, is in the US here, in the kind of sports card collecting world, Troy, I've heard a lot of soccer talk, which I can kind of write off. Well, the World Cup was this year and it was a big deal. Heard a lot of F1 talk, a lot of wrestling talk, and I just feel like you never hear anything about hockey. Am I, from your perspective and what you've seen, am I kind of on track? Or
yeah, I agree with you. I think if you want to hear about hockey, you got to find us or other hockey specific collector kind of shows. It doesn't come up on the big ones. So we listen to, I think we listen to a good majority of the major podcasts or shows, and it seems like hockey just doesn't come up a lot. Maybe if there's a big sale of the Gretzky rookie, it might come up. But there are some shows that do that, but none of the huge guys out there.
Mm-hmm. So I would just love to see kind of in the US here to break through a little bit, maybe be a little more prominent at the national and stuff like that. My next point is it's on grading. I know I peeked at your notes too, so I think we can kind of frickin' frack here a little bit too. I think we have a little bit different perspective though. I would really like to see a second grading company challenge PSA from a values perspective in the coming year. I think that would be very healthy, not just for hockey, but for sports cards as a whole. And I think the value piece is really important because anything else, like other like features and benefits, is a lot of just subjectivity, personal preference, brands you like, holders you like. I like the clarity of this holder, the look, how it feels, the reputation of the company. All that stuff is great and fine, and I totally respect what anyone thinks, but let's not kid ourselves here. At the end of the day, it comes down to which one's worth the most, and there's not even anyone in the same universe right now as PSA. And I just don't think that that's good, right? I would love to see anybody, and I'm not really, I don't have a grading card brand that I'm like that I back, or I'll try anybody. And I can see the merits of really all the companies. But if PSA has somebody on their heels from a value perspective, that pushes them to get a lot better, right? It pushes their customer service to be better because there's a competitor that they have to feel like they need to stay ahead of and maybe to innovate a little bit more. As far as who that might be, my best guess is probably SGC. Mm-hmm. They seem to be at but it's still, like, when it comes to hockey especially, it's not even close, the values. But if I had to guess which company could do that, it would be SGC. But again, I don't really care. I just want somebody to come in. And even if they're 80% the value of PSA, I think that's a really, really good thing. What's your perspective on grading and kind of your wish list for 2022?
So I put for my wish list of grading, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. People are probably going to get mad, or we have our Discord where we have the Troy therapy session, I think, on grading. But I said, someone make grading simpler. No tiers, no charges based on declared value, no upcharges, no having to have a membership to get certain rates, blah, 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 blah. I just want it simpler. I still don't like all the tiers and how I can send a card in and they can charge me more than what I thought the original rate was going to be based on declared value. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous you have to be a member of some club to get some certain rate or anything, or certain turnaround time. I don't like the whole environment right now on grading and how it is and how it is to get something submitted. I do think there are companies doing good things. Like we've mentioned, I like the tag innovation. I like tag sending you all the supplies right now. If they keep doing that, that's great. That makes it easy. If you send me, here's all the boxes and here's where you can put it in. Like, one thing with grading too, I hate how I still don't have a good answer. You have a card saver. Can you put a card in a penny sleeve and put it in the card saver? Some people say yes, some say no. Some say they'll upcharge you the extra $1. That stuff to me is just so confusing. Put that on your stinking website.
Make it dummy proof, yeah.
Yeah, make it Troy proof. Make it idiot proof. I don't care. Use me an example. Like, I would love just more clarity there. But again, SGC, I think, is doing some good things with their quick turnaround times. We've seen it. I think they're running like 7 business days, maybe less on stuff. And I like how they actually did do some simplistic stuff with their pricing. But again, I still think there's some better things to be done. So that's my spiel on grading.
Can I do like a 45-second tag tangent? Because I was thinking about them today. It's kind of I have a pro and a con.
Okay.
What's impressing me most about tag is really kind of since late summer when they really kind of jumped onto the scene, they've been like pretty quiet, which I think is a very, very good thing, meaning that there hasn't been like bombastic, outlandish claims. They just seem to be working, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know exactly like kind of where they're at in their progress, and maybe at some point we'll be interested enough or curious enough to have Jeremy back on and kind of get an update as to where they're at. But in my mind, they're winning points by just kind of staying in their lane and proving it and doing the work. So I give them a lot of credit for that. I am, though, Troy, more and more convinced, because this is the one thing we talk about tag all the time. We actually talked about them. We just took a little break, right, a minute ago. It's impossible to find their cards on eBay sales history.
I'm right now in Card Ladder just trying to go through histories, and I can't find them. I don't know a good search term. I wish maybe they do. Maybe they can release something, because I've tried like Kaprizov Tag 10, because I know there's Kirill's that are graded. I can go to Tag and see their pop reports. I can't find sales. I mean, unless there's zero sales, which I highly doubt. I bet there's sales, but I cannot find sales of Tag slabs.
They need to either change their name or convince eBay to make a whole bunch of changes to their search entry. The issue is, if you search for the word tag, T-A-G, there's lots of sports cards that have that are laundry tags or patches or have used that term. So all you do is end up finding sports cards that are not tag graded cards. And I know that they know, because we talked to Jeremy about this at the expo. But I would say between the two of us each week, we're just out of curiosity, we're looking, and it's so dang hard to find their cards. And I go back to, at the end of the day, its value is going to matter the most. And when you can't see how their cards are selling, I think it's going to be really hard for them to make incremental gains against the other companies.
Yeah, and I'll just say I did do like Kaprizov Tag in Card Ladder and then stopped, and I found 4. So some came up through the card, but now I was going to do it on eBay. So maybe maybe I'm just got to make it really, really simple. So if I do,
and maybe a little bit of it too is there's just not a lot of sales yet. I don't know.
Could be.
We don't know, because we can't ever find the dang thing. So okay, tangent over.
Yeah, I mean, if I did play like a Kaprizov Tag and that's it on eBay itself and do a search history, I can find those cards that Card Ladder found. So maybe there's just not a lot of sales. So I take back, but it's still kind of that name. Just you'll get, like you just said, you'll get laundry tags. You'll get, for some reason, I'm getting ticket stubs coming up, but it's just that kind of goofy stuff. I hope, I guess for them, the best thing would be to have eBay, because there is a grading filter or something. And I know PSA is in there. I think BGS. That might be it. I don't know if they have any other one. It's like SGC.
If you're going to require someone to go in and sort and filter out, though, that's still
agree. Yeah. So,
okay. My last thing on my wish list is, I think this is important, and I would love to see 1 or 2 more players break through on the top end of the. I always want to say, and I got to credit Sports Card Cartel here. He always says tippy top, and I just love when he does that. On the tippy top of the hockey card market in sales or values. So because these big sales I think are really important. They grab headlines. They get people that maybe are sports card collectors and haven't considered hockey, maybe to consider it and want to learn more about it. Only 4 players, Troy, have ever had a card sell for more than 200,000 US.
That's crazy.
Right. If you think of I'm sure Brock Purdy has had a $200,000 card at this point. Maybe that's a little bit of a exaggeration, but every year rookie basketball players have $200,000 cards.
I'm actually glad. I don't even know who Brock Purdy is. Is he a football?
He's the football quarterback for. He was Mr. Irrelevant, and I think in San Francisco.
Oh, gotcha.
Because of injury, he's played well.
Draft guy,
yeah. So, do you know who the 4 players are that have ever had a card sell for 200,000 or more?
Well, I'm not going to look at your notes. I could guess Gretzky, Lemieux, Crosby, and I don't know who the other one. Or Is that right?
You got 2 right.
Gretzky or I just saw the list.
Gordie Howe, Connor McDavid.
Did I not say McDavid?
No, you didn't.
I should be fired. And Howe. I should both be fired for both of those. It was nice working with you, Josh.
Yeah, I'm going to have your official hockey card collector member card confiscated for all.
I have failed miserably.
Okay, so that was my list on the wish list. I know we've talked. Did we talk about all yours, or do you have any other ones?
No, well, again, this is pie in the sky. I don't know how you do it. Obviously, if I had a great idea, do it. I still wish there was some easier way to track collections and values in collections. We use Card Ladder. Josh used Card Ladder intensely on that kind of aspect. I still wish it was more standardized like the stock market. It will never get there. I don't think there's too much variation. I always want to think of a card like a stock. And if you could have like this one marketplace and very, I can't remember the word I'm looking for, but it's just one of those pie in the sky. Obviously, it's not going to happen anytime soon, if ever. And then I put one of my wish lists for just Troy is to come up with a new set collection. And I think I'm leaning towards doing the top 100 greatest players collection. Like
that would be cool.
I think I'm going to do that and then I have an idea. I want to get a big glass display case, and if it has 5 shelves, 20 cards on each shelf, and then it would be really cool if I could do a stand up display with each number, like 1, 2, 3, and then put the guy on it. That'd be pretty expensive though. Getting 100 stand up displays, each one custom with a different number.
Well, maybe they would do a deal.
Yeah, maybe. Buy in bulk, you'll get discounts. So I thought that would be pretty cool. And I think I'm leaning towards that one. I was saying I would get their rookie cards with the highest grade that I could afford, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Gretzky PSA 10 is in my future.
It's not?
No.
Maybe the tops. Maybe the tops.
I don't even think the tops is in my future. Unless someone just happens to give me one or something, which don't.
We'll move on to the final segment of our 2023 preview. This is a fun one, Troy. I'm sure that I know you've noticed, but I would assume most other people have too. For honestly, the past month almost, I've been doing a series of Instagram story polls, trying to get listener and follower feedback or ideas on some of your guys' predictions for 2023. And I think there's like 10 of them or something like that, or maybe 1 or 2 more. And so what I wanted to do, Troy, is just kind of run through them, and then you and I can react and add a comment or 2 or see if we agree or disagree. We'll play that game. Agree or disagree?
Let's do it.
So the first one is, which player will be the top selling Young Guns from 2022-2023 Upper Deck Series 2? Because of the Instagram poll, I put 3 names down there that I thought are likely Series 2 Young Guns, and then had an other category too. So Juraj Slafkovsky, Wyatt Johnston, Arbor Jacki, or Wi-Fi, or other. The winner was Juraj Slafkovsky with 50% of the votes, and then followed by Wyatt Johnston at 28, Arbor Jacki at 21, and then other at 13. Is that how you would see it? Or so are people that are thinking Slafkovsky because of his potential? It can't be necessarily how he's played. He's been fine.
No, it's potential. It's Montreal. It's all that. Yeah, and even Arbor what's it? Yeah. Jacki, Wi-Fi. He is in Montreal too, but he obviously being a D, I think that probably holds him back a little bit.
Because Johnston, from a performance standpoint,
he's by far got the most points.
And he's scored a ton of goals too. I think he's tied with Matty Beniers for the most goals.
Yeah, I think I agree with the listeners, though. I think I could lean on the Slafkovsky.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think the other would be? Now, Shane Wright could be, but really, I mean, he is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is that who there, or is there someone else? Like Jake Sanderson, maybe, but he's kind of cooled off.
Don't ask me. Like I said, I need to make my list. Yeah, or Power, but it's like you start asking me what series people are in, and I'm confused. I'm struggling.
Okay, so that was question number 1. Question number 2. Now, again, this is calendar year 2023.
Yep.
A month or so after it comes out, Connor Bedard's Young Guns will be selling for, there's 4 choices, less than $50 US, 50 to 100, 101 to 150, or more than 150 US dollars. The winner was more than 150 US dollars at 59% of the votes. There's a few hundred votes on all, so call it statistically significant. 59% was over 150. Next was 27%, 101 to 150, then 12%, 50 to 100, and less than 50 US dollars was 3%. I think that it's going to be more than 152 a month after. At some point,
I'm leaning towards, but Upper Deck might print it to the moon, so it'll be like those Wander Francos. It's like everyone's pulling a Wander Franco, even though he's supposed to be the this rare rookie. It's everyone had him, but I don't know. I agree. I kind of agree with over 150. I think the hype is going to be so stinking high. Like, I don't know. Like, I wonder if anyone's in the last
McDavid.
I don't know. McDavid, but hell, the hype around Bedard is just insane, and it's warranted. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's warranted.
What we've learned from Laffy is he can stink for 2 years and still sell for a lot too, right?
Yeah.
So there's a follow-up question to this. I asked our listeners and followers, will Upper Deck raise the hobby box price for the series that contains Connor Bedard Young Gun? So to either be Series 1 of next year or probably more likely Series 2, I'm guessing. And there's 3 choices here. Nope, they'll be the same price it would have been without him. That had 24% of the vote. This was our closest poll. Yeah, they'll raise it, but it'll be less than 15% raise. That won with 39%. And I did, it'll be more than 15% price hike. And that was a very close second, 38%. What do you think will happen to Hobby Box?
I'm the middle one. I'm the 15 to, or sorry, which one? Yeah, I'm in the 15 to 39%. They'd be dumb not to. Mm-hmm. If you're a smart business, you're going to raise the price on this, whatever series he's in, because you're going to sell a ton of boxes.
I probably won't pull a single one. I'll open up 150 boxes. That'll be my
I'm sorry. Mine, I'm saying which is was that the 0 to 15%?
Yeah, just a slight increase.
Yeah, I saw the 39 and screwed myself up thinking. But yeah, I'm in the group. Mm-hmm. I think Upper Deck, if they're smart, they'll raise the box prices. I don't see them being so predatory that they're going to go really high on it.
Just don't raise them for us.
Yeah.
Josh and Troy get the same price.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the Connor Bedard section of predictions. Now moving on, which of these players will have the highest selling card in 2023? Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, or Connor McDavid? So the runaway winner here was Gretzky at 61%, followed by McDavid at 34%, and then in the Peanuts results category were Howe with 3% and Orr with 2%. Now, this one's really interesting because if you really think about this, for Gretzky to have the number one selling card, it means one of the 79 PSA 10s has to sell, one of the 4, right? There's 2 OPG. If either of those go up for sale or the tops, then it's over, right? Signed, sealed, delivered.
That's what I was actually just trying to look and see. Have we had a Gretzky, OPG, or tops 10 sell every year?
Well, one sold in 2022 and one sold in 2021. I know that. But before that, I'm not sure. I actually don't think personally that Gretzky is the most likely. I would guess that it's more likely to be one of the 3. And I'm going to go actually into the peanut gallery category and go either a Hoare or like one of the PSA 9s or something like that will go, or if there's, I don't know if there's a 10 that exists for either rookies, one of those will go out to market and be the highest selling card of this year, 2023. What's your prognostication?
I'm leaning. I'm making a bet that one of the Gretzky's will go up.
Okay.
We've had one and go for sale in looks like 2020, 2021, 2022. I'm thinking it continues. You get that one Gretzky out there and boom.
You might be right.
Game over.
Next question. This is a fun one. What month will 2020, 2021, the Cup be released?
I didn't even see this. I totally missed this.
I put January, February. No, I did this back in December. So
maybe that's why. Hey, maybe this is why we don't get a Christmas card from Upper Deck. We put this poll out there.
January, February, March, or the final choice is April or later. And that was the winner at 38%. Most listeners and followers believe it'll be April or later, followed by March at 29%, February at 20%, January at 13%. Pretty confident it's not going to be January now, but I hope
I've been so wrong on this.
hope it's before April. It has to be.
I think I'm with the April or later group. I think I was leaning January for a long time, but that's not going to happen. And I'm going for the April or later group.
All right. So the last grouping is actually 6 different polls that I did. And I was just this is stuff I was thinking about. And it's more of like a one or the other kind of polls. And I wanted to kind of think of more upside. And by upside, I mean like more room to grow in 2023, right? Not who's a better player, not who's worth more, but just has more hobby upside in 2023. And so the first guys I listed were Tage Thompson and Jason Robertson. Overwhelmingly 70% said J-Rob. Do you lean that way too, or?
I'm on I would go with J-Rob on that question.
I think I would too. Okay, the next pair is Logan Thompson or your guy Pyotr Kachikov. Now, Logan Thompson, from a listener and follower perspective, got 58% of the vote, and Kachikov 42%.
I'm a spiteful human being, so I want Logan Thompson to start falling, so you do not get your Calder Rookie of the Year that you've been.
Well, I suppose that the better Kachikov plays, the more your Carolina Cup prognostication.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. Kachikov is the.
I think I would honestly. I lean towards Thompson. I think, even though I like Kachikov and Carolina. I think Thompson's my vote.
I was a little bit impressed with that too, because I asked this question. Like, we're right in the middle of Kachikov hysteria, right? If there's no player hotter right now from a hobby perspective. And so even with that sort of recency bias factor, people still went Logan Thompson. Next one was Jack Hughes, or your boy Kirill Kaprizov. Jack, by listeners and followers, Jack Hughes won handily 59% to 41%.
Whatever. Kirill forever.
I would agree, though. I think Hughes has more upside.
Yeah.
This one, I'm fascinated. This next one, I'm totally fascinated with. I pitted Ovechkin versus McDavid. Now, remember, this is hobby upside next year, right? And what's going to happen in 2023 is going to be Ovi mania. All that being said, still 66 to 34% people think Ovechkin, McDavid has more upside than Ovechkin in 2023. I don't think I agree with that.
Yeah, when McDavid has a 200-point season, breaks the single season point record. I don't know.
How much higher can it go? I mean, maybe a lot.
I know. I know. But this is very intriguing. Or maybe people just they're baked in with Ovi right now. They know he's going to go over that record, and the hobby, the value's built in already.
Okay, the next one's my favorite. It's the Marner versus Draisaitl. The superhero sidekick question. Who has more hobby upside in 2023? Mitch Marner or Leon Draisaitl? This is the closest one. Very narrowly, Leon Draisaitl edges out Mitch Marner by 52% to 48%. Now, do you agree with that or no? They both played so well this year.
I know. They're so good, and they just nothing.
And they're both on
I think I agree
huge
with
markets of crappy teams that people are frustrated with, right?
See, they're both going to get traded to the same team or something, or they'll leave for the same team. I don't know what their contract statuses are, but
okay. And then I think this last one, like with Ovechkin and McDavid, sort of tests the premise of more upside, not who's better, not who will be better in their career, but just, so I did Cole Caulfield versus Trevor Zegras. Caulfield won very handedly, 68% to 32%. I kind of feel that upside, meaning who could have the higher percentage growth or the more ground made up. I think it's Zegras. If he A, plays a little bit better, and B, his team isn't a total dumpster fire.
Yep. Plus, I think Zegras. I like Zegras. He's my spirit animal from a personality perspective. I just love how goofy he is and loves video games and just kind of awkward at times. But
well, that concludes our 2023 preview information. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. It's going to be an amazing year. I can't wait. We've been 23 podcasters now, Troy, for all of one day. So that's exciting. Yeah. It'll be a year from now. It'll be kind of crazy to look back, and I'm sure a whole bunch of wacky stuff is going to happen. We want to touch on hobby news real quick. And like I always start with injury update. There is a little Draisaitl injury, Troy. He's got a core muscle strain. I think he's like a day-to-day, expected back pretty soon. I don't know if you noticed when we were...
Aren't we all just day-to-day?
True. When you and I were being just bumps on a log last night, we were watching the Oilers play, I think it was Winnipeg, right? I don't know if you noticed that McDavid had 0 points last night with no Draisaitl.
I did because I was looking up Campbell, and I saw the score was 2-1, and I was like, oh, let me look. And I saw McDavid had 0, and I was like, wow.
Okay, this next injury really bums me out because this is my little sneaky guy that Josh hasn't been talking about on the podcast because I don't want to compete against myself. But I've been riding very quietly the Matthias Maselli bandwagon from Troy, your Yotes. And he's out 6 weeks with the lower body injury. That sucks.
Ooh, sell now.
That sucks. So those are kind of the injuries of note. Want to do a World Junior Championships update. Do you think Troy Connor Bedard is good at hockey?
My God. What? I just...
Holy crap.
I can't process how his brain works. Like, the game must move so slow for him. Like, to do the things he does, everything must be in slow motion because he is unbelievable.
So they played 4 games. He has 18 points.
I think he's tied, or did he break the record for most points by a Canadian in the World Juniors? Or is he? Or I think it's.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Never mind. Don't listen to me. I'm probably just bringing up.
He's got 6 goals and 12 assists in 4 games. He looks at what McDavid is doing and is like, "Is that all?
Is that all you can do?"
That's just crazy.
Something else.
So it's going to keep the hype train just amping up. It's going to get crazy. Do you think we're going to get sick of Connor Bedard by the time he's drafted? Or
I don't think so. I love this. I love the highlights that come out of him and the crazy stuff he does. And it's always something different, or it's just another thing that I'm absolutely amazed at. So I don't think I'll ever get tired of like superstar potential and seeing highlights of what they can be, what they can do.
Mm-hmm. Some other notable names: Dylan Guenther from Team Canada, and of course the Yotes, has 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points in 4 games. Shane Wright, Troy's guy, has 6 points as well, 3 goals, 3 assists. Logan for Team USA, Logan Cooley has 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists. Golden Gopher, also Yotes prospect, and Luke Hughes, the third Hughes brother, has 4 points in 3 games. Kind of an anti-defense stat line. He's got his 4 points are 3 goals and 1 assist, right? So from a defense,
he's backwards.
Teams wise, I think we're we're recording this on the New Year's Day. We're on to the quarterfinals. I think only Austria and Latvia have been knocked out of the tournament so far. Next games are in January 2, which is the day that this podcast comes out. One kind of bummer I looked ahead is USA and Canada are on the same side of the bracket. So we play in the semifinals, and can't be a USA-Canada finals matchup, which would have been good. And, Troy, you have a note here. Big important.
I do have a note. I'm going to plug it. Just remember, everyone, Women's World Juniors start January 8th in Sweden. 5 players from the team I coach at Minnetonka are on the team, including the goalie, Layla Hemp. So everyone, obviously you Canadian listeners, you support your Canada team, but American listeners, remember the girls are going in a little bit. So it'll be fun. Plus, I have a connection, so it'll be fun to watch that.
So lest anyone, as some people like to say, we know nothing about hockey, you can very well say that about me, but remember, Troy is the goalie coach for Team USA's goal.
The closest I get to Team USA is they send me the report on Layla and say, here's what we noticed. Stuff for like it's really nice because it's like a relationship back and forth. Like, here's what we see. What do you see? Here's stuff we can work on. Let us know. They'll take suggestions from me. I take suggestions from them. So it's really good that we have this like open line of communication on what to work on.
It is pretty wild though that your high school has 5 players of what the 20 player roster or something like that.
I'm going to say it's 23, maybe 25, somewhere in there. But yeah, There's us, and then I think another school, I think Shattuck, St. Mary's, and Faribault, Minnesota might have like 4.
Okay.
And there's another team that's I can't remember if it's like Little Caesars, one of those AAA teams in one of the states. Because again, just for everyone that doesn't know, Minnesota is all about high school hockey, where the rest of the country it's usually AAA teams that that players play for. But yeah, it's really cool.
Big Minnesota contingent, so it's kind of cool for us.
But now we actually start our high school stretch of 4 to 5 games without 5 of our top players. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
All right, just to round out hobby news real quick. The NHL announced their 3 stars for the month of December. Not huge surprises. First star is Ovechkin, number 2 all-time leading goal scorer in the NHL now. Second is McDavid, and third is Tage the Rage Thompson. They also announced their rookie of the month for December. It's Troy's guy, Pyotr Kochetkov. Just one little note here. He has been rising kind of superstar in the hockey hobby world. His Young Guns Raw from 2022 Series 1 is about 40. He's kind of eclipsing Boldy a little bit, as Beniers is still the guy from Series 1, but looks like Kochetkov for now is number 2. But like you said, Troy, right? He has a bad week, and we'll see what happens there. Want to make a quick note on Gongshow sponsor partner PWCC. Number 1, to continue to thank them for supporting our show and really the hockey card market hobby in general. They have stepped up in a big way, and they believe in hockey, and we appreciate them very much. Just a few reminders on the PWCC side. There's a new weekly auction starting today, I believe, so that's January 2nd. Go ahead and check that out on the PWCC site. The January premiere auction begins on the 5th. Can't wait to see if there's any monsters in that, Troy. There's also their fixed price marketplace you can go to at any time. They have over 4,000 hockey cards right now, a lot of really cool ones too. That's kind of a good, fun way to kind of find some good deals and some good cards in there. And then if you'll recall, I had submitted a couple of cards to the PWCC Vault, but used their grading option through SGC. Just a really quick note there, they're still in grading. I'm expecting them to come out any day, but we'll be kind of updating people and what I decide to do, if put them up for sale, if they're in the vault or not. But that should be in the next couple of shows when I find out. I'm sure my grades will be like 4s, and I'll just tell them to burn them. But yeah. Okay, on to new product releases. So as soon as we plant our flag in January 5th, being the release of Skybox Metal, it doesn't take long for it to get pushed, which is kind of a bummer. Looks like it's coming out on the 11th now. So what is that? Is that a Wednesday? Is that not this? Yeah. Not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. Not the end of the world, of course, but a bummer nonetheless, because I'm getting pretty excited for it. What I do think this means, though, and Troy, getting back really quickly to our conversation about Upper Deck's kind of logjam or delays in releases, at some point they're going to have to start doing at least more than one release a month. And to me now, this, where I was thinking, January 5th, we might see something at the end of the month then. Now that this is pushed to the 11th, I don't think they're going to release product 2 weeks apart. I think 3 weeks is probably, that's just my conjecture, but
I think whatever they do, it's still going to be hard to do 2 a month, because even if you do one at the beginning, one at the end, now you can't do another one at the beginning of the next month because now you've gotten too close. I don't know. I hate to be in their shoes. I'll tell you that. Trying to find, it's really crazy when you look at a calendar, how you have a really limited number of days you can release something.
One other note I want to make is when we talked about PMG last week, we talked about the Skybox Metal Hockey, and spent a little bit of time talking about PMGs and their configuration. You and I were dumb, which shouldn't be a huge surprise to anybody. Mm-hmm. And actually, this is where Dave at Schwab's Hockey pointed out to us that the configuration, I guess, for PMGs is the Gold 101 is not part of the 100, the serial numbers for one. I don't know how to say this, right? So they're numbered to 100. 1 through 10 are green. 11 through 100 are red. The Gold 101 is not included in the out of 100 serial number. How did I do, Troy?
I think I get it. I get it.
Just want to make that clarification. Thanks to Dave for pointing that out. So I don't know. Now I don't remember who pointed out about Drake Batherson, but
well, no, yeah. Now I feel bad. Yeah, so if it was you and we got the wrong name, we're sorry.
We'll shout you out next time. Only other little quick thing in new releases is I've been hearing a lot about the Series 1 blasters that came out a few weeks ago for retail, and the price went up a little bit. Heard not great comments about it for getting value. I did pick up a couple, and I got like 2 Young Guns and 2 blasters. If you need a gift for a kid or a birthday party or something like that, these are probably okay. But I just want to make the note that you're much better off buying a hobby box and getting 6 Young Guns total for around the $100 range than 2 Young Guns for $50 or whatever I spent. So just a little piece of advice there.
Did you want to bring up those videos we were watching yesterday on the Walmart stuff? Those Canadian specific.
Yeah, I do.
Walmart mystery.
I have never been more bitter
mystery backs
from the mystery tins.
Mystery tins. For
a lot of reasons, from a hockey card perspective, it stinks to be an American. This is driving me crazy. Video after video about what were they saying that like $16 Canadian for these tins. They come with like 4 or 5 sealed packs, and almost every tin there's a 2015 Series 1 or Series 2 or sometimes both pack in them. Or like you could get Austin Matthews rookies. Why the heck can't we get these here?
Because they wouldn't sell. They'd only sell in Minnesota, the East Coast, maybe upper Northeast.
I would buy all of them.
Right. Yeah, I'd buy if I saw them. I'd definitely buy them. They looked really cool. And again, we just watched videos on people opening.
And if you're a breaker,
I don't know.
You got to be hustling to get these, because for what is that, roughly like $12 US, you could throw a tin as a thank you in a break and have a 2015 pack and pull a McDavid rookie out of that for nothing from an expense standpoint. Oh man, that would be.
Yeah. So if any of our listeners in Canada have bought some of these, let us know. Let us know how your experience is.
Or sell them to us, and we'll just don't gouge us. Maybe we have to drive to Thunder Bay, and
there we go. Thunder Bay's closest, right?
It's like an 8-hour drive though, or something like that.
Probably.
Spend like $400 in gas to get $12 mystery tins. All right. I think that is our show for this Monday, the first show of the year, episode 44. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for supporting us. If you like the episode, please leave a rating review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, and how could you not, Troy's on it, and you want to support us and see us succeed and be able to cover expenses and help to produce more and better content, please consider supporting us via Patreon. You can go to the Patreon website and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or visit the link in the podcast app you're listening to us on in the show description, or it's in our link tree, which is found on our Instagram profile or TikTok profile, and join the Under 99 tier and help support the show and join us on the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server. If you're not following us on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. We will see you all on Thursday.